Welcome to the Fiercely Visible CEO podcast. I'm your host, Steph Wharton. Join me as we dive into how to become a widely in-demand CEO that prioritizes balance between life and business, isn't afraid of making the scary decisions that get you results you actually care about, and unapologetically breaks the rules to build the business and life of your dreams. I'm going to get right to it. So my best kept secret when it comes to building a highly successful business is to work less. Okay, bear with me because there could be a couple things happening right now. Either you're listening and you're like, what the hell are you talking about, Steph? Like, work less? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And you're hitting skip on this episode because obviously it's a load of BS. Or maybe you're one of those people that you're like, yeah, I totally get that. Like, I've actually experienced that I've seen how that can be helpful. But here's the problem. You're not working less. You're just aware of the fact that that could be a way to bring about more abundance into your business. But you are so consumed with the hustle and all the freaking things that you have to do inside of your business that you're not actually taking the time to do the things that you know are going to help you succeed and reach your next goal in your business, right? So regardless of where your brain is going, whether you think it's a load of BS or whether you think it's totally like golden advice, I want you to tune in. I want you to listen to everything that I'm saying and to listen closely. Make notes. Like, start to actually implement what I'm talking about inside your business on a daily basis. Of course, if a daily basis is not sustainable or it's not reasonable right now in the stage of your business, that's okay. You can always start small in little small ways. And whether that means starting one day a week where you slow down and work less, and then you start to increment that and take back your evenings and take back your afternoons and your weekends and whatever it is, so that you end up reaching a structure, let's call it, of how you would love to run your business in terms of the amount of hours that you put in, the amount of energy, and how much time you're spending on each of the different tasks inside of your business. So let's dive into why working less can be so powerful as a strategy in itself in order to bring in more sales, to increase your confidence, and to basically bring about all this amazing energy into the way that you run your business and the results that come about because of it, right? So I'll give you a couple of concrete examples because I feel like it's going to really help illustrate how this comes to play. But essentially, for context, you have probably by now tuned into the episode where I talk about the 20-hour work week and how I went from working 12 hours a day or more, and I cut that down to working anywhere between 1 hour a day to 5, depending on the day and the season of business. If I'm really busy, then sure, I'll work 5 hours or I'll even work 8. Like, I'm not saying that I always only work 4 hours a day / 20 hours a week, right? Like, no, I'm not a freaking robot. So life and my days don't always look the same. But it is very damn common for me to be only working an average of 4 hours a day. Yesterday, for example, I only worked 1 hour and took the rest of the day off. I was sitting outside. I took a nap. Like, I was relaxing, watched a shit ton of Netflix. That gets to be normal. Okay. Let's talk about finally, because I keep going on like little tangents, very passionately so, on whatever, how passionate I am about this and how cool it can be or what to make note of. So you've already tuned into that episode. If you haven't, go back, definitely give it a listen, whether now or after this episode. So I won't reiterate the logistics of what that looked like. But essentially what started to happen is when I cut back on the amount of work that I was putting in, I started to feel less overwhelmed. And some of you might think that that's counterintuitive, right? You might be thinking, how are you feeling less overwhelmed if now you technically have less time to work on the business? So now your tasks are piling up. First of all, do you really need to do every single thing that you are assigning to yourself, or can you cut down? Different conversation for another day. But because I was finally slowing down, it gave me a second to breathe, right? Like instead of hustling 24/7 or instead of forcing yourself to do certain things inside of your business, how about just letting things flow a little bit more naturally? So, for example, there's a lot of people, and I know this because I've been there. I've been the person that opens up their computer and goes, okay, let's go ahead and do content creation today, right? So you assign yourself like a 1 hour time slot and you're like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to get content done for the week or the month or however long you want to. And you sit there and it takes an entire hour to come up with one piece of content. What the hell are you going to do with one piece of content, right? Like, yeah, okay, you can share it today. Woohoo, that's amazing. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But if the intent was to create like 10 pieces of content and you just spent an hour, now you're extending it to 2 hours to 3 hours, you've essentially wasted half a fucking day trying to create content. And part of the reason for that, obviously, there could be a lot of reasons, and we could obviously explore that on a one-on-one setting. However, a lot of the times what ends up happening is truly that you're just forcing it. You're sitting there and the creativity, the ideas are just not coming through. However, how much cooler would it be if instead of forcing that and sitting down and trying to do it in 1 hour, but realistically more like 3 or 4, what if you just decided to go out for a walk instead? I can't tell you the amount of times that I've gone out on a walk where I was just like, hey, put my headphones in, was listening to a podcast, whether business related or not, or sometimes I just listen to music, right? Like I put the Encanto playlist and I'm just like, you don't talk, or I'm gonna butcher the lyrics. I'm like, we don't talk about Bruno, no, no, no. And I just do that and it pumps me up because I love Disney and Pixar movies and just all that kind of like musical genre, I guess if we want to call it that, because so many Disney movies have songs, and it's my jam and it lights me up. So I'm walking, the sun's on my face, I'm listening to music or a super cool, inspiring podcast, and I'm like, all of a sudden I stop like dead on my tracks and I'm like, oh my God, I just had an idea. Like, okay, and I grab my phone, grab my notes section and write it all down, right? At least briefly, bullet points, whatever, so that I don't forget it. And then you keep walking and all of a sudden you see a bird flying or the wind, there's like a breeze going through the trees and the leaves are going all moving beautifully, and then the sun is whatever glowing. I don't know how to describe all this, doesn't matter. The point being, you are so like, you've just released every single thought and worry you had in your head, and you're finally paying attention to something other than your business. That all of a sudden, doesn't have to happen every single time, but all of a sudden, without that forcing, without that pressure to do the thing comes naturally. And you're like so at ease and relaxed and not worried about anything and just truly, truly happy. And in that moment, you're like, this feels so good, blah, 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 blah. And you go on like this random, positive spiral of thoughts, and all of a sudden you land on again another content idea, or you're like, holy shit, now I know what I want to offer for XYZ. This would be such a cool passive income product or whatever, right? All those downloads essentially that you're experiencing are more likely to come your way when you're out, not putting pressure on it, and when you're out living your life, whether that means you're out on a walk or whether you are, I don't know, having a nice dinner out or sitting out on the patio reading a book, or you're taking a bubble bath. I don't care what it looks like, but essentially what you're doing is that you're creating intentional space to live your life and to slow down and to fill up your cup. Because when you're working in your business, you're constantly giving, right? You're creating, you're supporting your clients, you're coming up with stuff, you're thinking, that at some point you're spent. The creativity is gone. You can't come up with a single additional design to create for your clients. You can't come up with a single piece of advice to coach your clients on, and you're just empty. So by creating that intentional space, you're allowing yourself to fill back up that cup. You're allowing yourself to refuel with that creativity, that inspiration, the insightfulness, so that when you go and show up for your business again, whether intentionally or just because something came up naturally, like an idea or whatever, Now you're dedicating that time intentionally to your business and you're being more productive. So even if you're working less hours, you're getting more out of it because not only, yes, you're focusing on, let's say, your non-negotiable activities, things that just have to get done versus all the fluffy things that you think you have to do, but really they're just keeping you busy. So you're focusing on your top activities and you're doing so intentionally and you're doing so from a place, from an energy and a standpoint where you're truly inspired and ready and motivated to take action. So instead of sitting there for 3 hours trying to come up with content, the content ideas have already come up. And even if they haven't come up because you filled up your cup up, that sounds like a tongue twister. Because you filled your cup back up, now you're sitting there and it does only take an hour to create a bunch of content pieces or to do whatever it is that you set your mind to in that moment and that you wanted to tackle for your business. So it's intentional time taken away from the business to live your fucking life, and then intentional time to work on the business. And that makes a huge freaking difference because now not only is everything, quote unquote, I don't want to use this word, but we're going to go with it. You're being more productive. You're being more effective with the time that you are giving and dedicating to your business. But you've also already reached your goal of having the best life ever because you're finally giving time to your hobbies and to do whatever it is that you like to do and enjoy and spend time with friends, with families, with loved ones, with your partner. Like you're actively living your life as opposed to the whole like outdated corporate mentality where you have to hustle, hustle, hustle. And it's okay because you'll be able to save so much money and retire one day and buy a house and all those things. And it's like, no, I want to live my life starting now. I've already missed so much. So let me take advantage of today and tomorrow and the next day. So essentially, by structuring your life, your business this way, you're already reaching your goals. You're already waking up happy every single day, as opposed to overworked, overbooked, burnt out, and with nothing left to give, so to speak, right? Which makes every task inside your business with your clients that much harder. Okay. I hope you have written down some ideas for yourself that you are going to take my advice and start creating more intentional space for yourself in your business, and you're going to start working less. I do want to give a disclaimer. You probably kind of gathered this already, but if you're only spending like 1 hour a week on your business and you're not really seeing results and you're aware that you should be putting more time into your business, that's okay, right? Like you're not necessarily at a stage in business where the advice that I just shared with you today is going to make sense for you. So go ahead and find a way to spend more time in your business on non-negotiable activities, not just filling up and being busy for no reason, right? Like focus on money-making activities. But if you need to work more, that's okay. Work more. And even if this advice applies to you and you're like, you know what? Yes, I could work less. I could create more space for myself. But then all of a sudden, you're heading into a busy season where you have like new offers launching or you just have more clients and whatever. You're like, let's hustle for this month. That's okay too. Give yourself permission to ebb and flow and for your days to not have to look the same every single day and every single month, right? Like you've heard me share before inside the Fiercely Visible CEO podcast, I go through those tangents too, where I work along a lot of hours for 2 weeks or 3 weeks sometimes, or even a little bit more, it depends really. And I consider that my hustling, right? So I will hustle for a couple of weeks and that will open me up for the coming months to either take them off, go on vacation, or only work a couple hours a day and have a lot of like balance in order to now finally live my life and reap the benefits of everything that I've been, essentially all the seeds I've been planting as they grow and blossom and bring in a return in investment, that time investment that I spent hustling. And that's okay. It's okay to go back and forth, but a lot of you don't do that. A lot of you know that you could use a break. A lot of you know that, hey, you haven't done anything fun or anything just for yourself in so long, and you know how beneficial it is, but you keep postponing it. Stop making excuses and create space for yourself today. I want you to DM me and let me know what it is that you're doing today for yourself to bring more joy into your life, to actually make it so that you're living your best fucking life. And let's celebrate the shit out of that. That's it for this week's episode of the Fiercely Visible CEO podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at @StephWharton_ for more valuable content. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts.